This is Mike Granados with Perfect Video Conferencing. I'm a sales executive. I've been with Perfect Video Conferencing for about 4 years now. And our sales approach has always been the same, listen to the customer, see what their issues are, and try to solve those, even if it's not in a life-size world. We have several solutions that we can help solve business problems. We support different industries, everything from .com startups, even to small heating and air conditioning companies. We're able to support all companies, no matter what their size is. I wanted to share a couple customer success stories with you using some of the life-size products. The first one is BKF Engineers. BKF had been one of the early adopters of unified communications. As Randy mentioned, ShoreTel is a great unified communications tool, and they had been dabbling with video conferencing for years, not willing to invest, thinking it was expensive to implement a video conferencing solution. They had been using Google Plus, they had been using Skype, and they just weren't getting the quality in the solutions. That's when Randy and I, met with their team, and we're able to show them the value of life size. We're able to implement a UVC infrastructure into that, and then also tie it into their ShoreTel VoIP solution. So now meetings are easy to get participants in. They're efficient, and people can, no longer hide behind their laptops and multitask. Meetings are highly effective between executives, and stuff just gets done. It's actually helped BKF earn some praise. They're actually working on a bid for the possibility of a new Oakland A's ballpark right now on the waterfront here at Jack London Square. So their keys, the business problems we solved with them were speed, meeting effectiveness, and then leveraging their investment in unified communications. The next company I wanted to talk about was Sleep Train. Sleep Train is, not typically synonymous with video conferencing. It wouldn't seem like a bed retailer would be a heavy video conferencing user, but they are your ticket to a better night's sleep, so the commercials say. But Sleep Train has deployed video conferencing with life size for the last 4 years. Their main emphasis was with video centers. So with stores all across the West Coast, they're able to centralize their their training over life-size video conferencing. A lot of the times, in a training, you might not retain all the information in just one meeting. So Sleep Train has deployed DreamTube. So they've rebranded their life-size video center and called it DreamTube. And with this DreamTube, employees are able to review their training, get attachments, chat questions at any time. And it basically keeps, well-trained employees within the organization. Lastly, I wanted to talk about One Kings Lane. One Kings Lane is like many companies in the San Francisco Bay Area, they're a startup. They sprout up overnight and just have huge growth. And with huge growth comes huge communication problems. So beginning in San Francisco, One Kings Lane has moved on to New York, Los Angeles, and Pennsylvania. They've really solved the traditional video conferencing return on investment, which is, their travel costs. But what they've also done with the UVC platform and ClearC, they've implemented, one-touch directories to make all these meeting rooms simple and easy to use. All the meeting rooms have the life-size phone 2 built in, and they've used ClearC as a directory to make meetings, one click, one button press. Um, in their organization, video conferencing is not just for the executives. It's for all the marketing teams, the staff, operations, and we like seeing that growth in the video conferencing industry. So that's. I have many other, customer success stories, and I'd be happy to share them. If you want a demo, you can, email me at mgranados@perfectvc.com or reach me at 516-282-2872. Thank you. Alex, back to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. So we have about 20 minutes left. Before I get into the open question and answer, is there anything else, Randy, John, Heidi, Mike, that you'd like to add?
Just want to emphasize that, again, we don't want to waste your time. So remember, if you didn't hear it at the beginning, we do have a customer demo guarantee. It's John and I's commitment to pay you cash for your time. Take a demo with us, kick the tires, look at the product. No risk in trying the whole portfolio. We've even got cameras and demo gear that we can ship to you and plug in. Our commitment on that is, again, is if you don't leave those engagements better educated about video, we'll pay you for your time. But to follow up on Mike's point, rather than just a demo about how great the cameras are and how good the microphones are, I'd like to up the ante and say that if you're not able to go into a video deployment potential, and if we haven't left that with a way of rethinking how your business communicates and how you can use video to enhance your internal business processes, we haven't done our job. Because anyone can sell you a video conferencing unit, anyone can sell you a camera. Really, the way this is going to be a stronger return on investment is that if we're selling you a solution and supporting that in a way that changes the very nature of how you communicate internally. And it's a bold claim to make, but we see it again and again across all of our customer base, that this can enhance the way you do business internally, either with your own internal customers or your external customers. So we're going to put our money where our mouth is. Up to $250 per appointment, so it's not an insignificant amount of money. So I did, Alex, see a couple of email questions that came in. So for the purposes of this, if anyone's, I see a couple of people dialed into the voice line. If anyone wants to unmute and ask questions, great. Keep the questions coming in over email. I saw some Polycom questions. So Alex, I'm going to sort through some of these questions. I don't know if you've got some that you want to pop in, but I'm going to be ready in a moment. I just saw one come in from Mike as well. So.
Yeah.
Hey, Randy,
so we had.
Go ahead, Alex.
So we did have a few questions come in on the chat, and Heidi did answer a few of them through the chat. So I just want to read them off real quick. Alan Young asked, desktop to desktop within the domain and outside the domain, since we likely need to expand that. I think that's a firewall question, but then they asked mobile and tablet integration. So Heidi replied, ClearC would be a great option. It has a built-in firewall traversal as well, so it's easy to use anywhere. I'm actually using ClearC tied to my Icon endpoint. So when people call, my Icon rings, and then my laptop rings, and if my mobile devices are on, then they ring as well. I just chose which device to answer on. Alan said, thank you.
Hang on a second, Alex.
And then there's a...
Hang on. So, yeah, let's just make sure that one's crystal clear. Heidi, I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to add to that one. Right. From a technical perspective, really out of that, what you should take away is that we can do video on almost any device anywhere, and the Life-Size portfolio supports more of these devices than any other platform, and that's the ClearC. You can go to cs.globalcall.com and grab a download, or go to the App Store or the Play Store and just look up ClearC and pull it down. You can start using it today. We can get you a demo account on either our platform or the Life-Size demo pool, and you just seeing is believing. So go ahead and use it. What's changed in the ClearC, because that's what it was designed for, it was a mobility client. And you'll hear us more often call it mobility than anything else. What's changed in the ClearC is because it is such a powerful tool, they're now using it, as Heidi put in that IM, as a universal routing and directory engine. So that it does the firewall traversal services. It does the policy-based routing. So you can think about that as your contact center engine within a video conferencing world. Great. See a couple more coming in, Alex. So what was that second one you wanted to get to?
Next one is from Pete. He'd like to hear a little bit more about the higher education solutions. Their phone system is SIP enabled.
Sure. Yeah, I saw that one come in too. So, yeah, in Heidi, there's a whole host of online case studies from LifeSize about the higher ed vertical specifically. So I think let's commit to getting that directly to Pete. I saw the organization that he's with. And so, Pete, if you're still tuned in, we'll follow up directly around the case studies. But what we can tell you about anecdotally is not only this or the sleep train model is this video center can function as your own YouTube. And that is one of the best deployments. But then what we've also seen is the remote education component of this. ClearC has the ability, and if you think about this from a professor or a proctor or education perspective, ClearC has the ability to do one-on-one guest invites. And so in the normal video conferencing world in the higher ed space, you equip a classroom. This video conferencing camera can be part of your smart-enabled classrooms, your touch screens, and so all the things that go with content. But as soon as you're presenting your best lecture, capture or broadcast or bring in a guest lecturer via simple email invite. And so anyone on ClearC can enter a guest invite, which then propagates out to a third-party person. They're registering to ClearC, and so they don't have to worry about firewall policies or any of the things that go with normally setting up a guest invite. And in the very near future, WebRTC will be supported. So what has stopped the higher ed market from adopting is the keep it simple, stupid factor, is that as soon as it becomes complicated or as soon as someone has problems connecting, everyone gives up and they just go back to the chalkboard. And so what we've now seen is that because we are able to do this with a simple click, even your highest maintenance professor can handle this. And if not, we'll train them. So I'm trying to be a little cheeky about that.
That's great. This is
Go ahead.
I get the point. This is Pete at Cal Poly. Thanks for the information. I knew my question was really beyond the scope of this meeting, and I will be doing a follow-up call. We have been doing video conferencing on this campus for almost 20 years now, but the biggest problem has been firewall transversal, and which has never been implemented here. And so having outside speakers come in and things has always been very problematic. And so video conferencing was dying on the vine here until about 2 months ago when we got a trickle down mail from the president's office who said, I'd like to do video on my desktop.
Right.
Okay. I wish you'd asked me 15 years ago.
And provide the budget that goes with it. So, Pete, the other thing that we see, the other thing that we see in the higher ed space is that not all budgets are created equal. And so while the willingness might be there, the actual ability to deliver might not because of that cost to performance metric. And so the thing that ClearC does for you as a product, built-in firewall traversal, none of the costs that go with it, but it also is about concurrent sessions, not about registration. So you could deploy this enterprise-wide, and what you only pay for is the capacity and the usage for those calls that are active. And then secondarily, any life-size codec, like the ones we're connected on, don't take up any of those port resources. So LifeSize has done something that's fairly unique in the model and in the market by only using consumption based on those mobile devices. Everything else is in the bag, sort of under the hood already. So probably not a bad thing for us to light up a UBC demo for you guys to play with internally, but it's the routing engine. And yeah, again, slightly out of scope, but I'm glad you were able to speak up and give us a little bit more on that. So welcome aboard and thanks for introducing yourself. Great. There's a couple of SIP questions that came in, Alex, so I'm just going to pop into those. And John, I'll ask you to keep me honest if I miss anything on the details. One of them was, what's the density of your SIP trunks And by that is, can I do a concurrent conference call? And so by design, there's two products that we offer in the Global Call portfolio. You can see that at store.perfectvc.com. The first one is a $35 phone line with a DID. And that's just about making sure your conference rooms and your video units can be dialed. We don't restrict outward dialing on that. So if you want to dial out to a voice service, you can. At $55 for a phone line, you then get a DID and a DOD capability built into the product. And you can get and the other question that came in was, can you get out of rate center DIDs? Absolutely. It's a SIP platform. We don't care if you're in Monterey or if you're in Sacramento. We can get you the area code, or New York. We can get you the NPA and Exec that you want registered to that video device, so you can appear as though you're in Austin and be in Boston. We don't care. And the density for us is not limited. So if you hit the conference button and your PBX supports multi-party conferencing, you can go up to, and I've tested up to 10 simultaneous calls. Our SLA is for 3-party conferencing, but it's SIP. And so if you've got the bandwidth and if you've got the infrastructure, we're going to connect you and we're going to charge you. So there's a per minute call fee that goes with those extra lines. So, John, I don't think we've seen an upper limit to the number of trunks we can provide or the number of concurrent connections, have we?
No.
Okay. But
It's
again,
in
the product
excess
is
of
designed for
10,000.
3-party conferencing, and it can go beyond that. Great. A question a little bit about the telemedicine infrastructure, John, that came in about can you integrate voice to the desktop in a telemedicine session? Good, nice to see you, Ted. I'm not, and if that you can email more about that. That's all they said is, can you integrate VoIP to a telemedicine session? I'm assuming a voice line. So maybe we get more clarification.
No
Email
reason.
me at randy@perfectvc.com if that's your question. I'm not quite understanding what you're looking for. Because John provides both medical imaging and the traditional telemedicine, sort of a radiology, sort of doctor-patient contact, but we also do video in that infrastructure. And an assumption of video is that we always carry voice. Alex, anything else come in? Mobile tablet integration, looks like you got that one.
Sorry.
Randy,
yes.
I saw
we
a
have one
question
other.
about.
Go ahead, Mike.
There's a question about hosted PBX and VoIP services, which integrate with video conferencing.
So there's another factor that goes in with that too. So it's not only what PBX you're on and what version of software is on your PBX, but what carrier are you using or are we using? So up until about 3 years ago, most of us who sell phone systems and video would say, yeah, you could probably do SIP, but let's go with a PRI, because the SIP infrastructure was fairly unreliable or inconsistent in its support. And so what has to happen is the carrier, AT&T or XO or Global Crossing, you name your carrier, has to enable their SIP platform to not only be life-size compatible, but then also PBX software compatible. So there's an interoperability that needs to be tested. And thankfully, that infrastructure has simplified and everyone is rapidly cross-certifying one another's platform. So without knowing, and if you want to IM your specific PBX model, John and I probably know it, but if you can connect to AT&T via SIP, you can connect to Global Call. Now, as far as what that gets you, SIP connections to your PBX can get you a connection into a single voice line or a bridge, or a PRI equivalent for SIP. So you can get high-density SIP calling from us. But what John and I are more interested in is if your PBX, like a ShoreTel or a Cisco system, can do SIP-based video calling. What that means is you can then register your ShoreTel system into life-size ClearC and get one directory for video calling. And so your end users could call a ShoreTel endpoint, a Link endpoint, a life-size endpoint. We don't care. That ClearC directory then gives you the registration necessary to have one dial menu or one directory. So again, Mike, without knowing the specific PBX model, it's hard to speak to it, but really what we want to look for is carrier-specific compatibility and equipment-specific compatibility. we assume then that your firewalls in between
endpoint-
aren't stepping on SIP, which is normally the problem, is your networking infrastructure usually steps on something in between. Alex and Mike, looks like you both had some chats that came in.
So he brought a more specific, like packet 8x8 or Ring Central, and I've heard of Ring Central coming out with their own client with their phone service, but
Sure.
I'm not sure yet if it ties into Lifesize.
Yeah, it absolutely, all of the cloud SIP services are running generally the latest and greatest of the SIP stack. So I would be shocked. The problem with, and I know this for sure with Ring Central, is they don't often, as a provider, do 1 MBs. And that's why John and I started the Global Call platform, is that they don't often do a one-line peel-off for a customer that's not. Now, if you're already a Packet 8 or an 8x8 or a Ring Central customer, you're likely able to get another single phone line registration for your Lifesize infrastructure. And if they say no, give us a call. It won't be our sale or our relationship, but we'll help you ask the right questions. We're glad to help with that, because, Mike, we do actually have a couple of customers on Ring Central and 8x8, even ShoreTel Sky, that they already have hosted VoIP services with providers that aren't us, and they've been told no by their account executives that they can't register Lifesize to it. And what we just had to do is sort of go under the hood a little bit and tell them what we needed for a registry. And they were able to peel off a trunk equivalent or a single phone line equivalent and get those systems registered. So we know that Lifesize does a fairly aggressive job at certifying on the latest SIP build, because their assumption for a lot of their communications via ClearC is SIP. Whether or not that lines up with the latest build on the carrier side becomes a variable, but if it doesn't match up, we'll sell you a $35 phone line and be done with it and make it easier. So, good. Alex, I know there was one that came in for you. What was that?
Sorry. No, actually, that was the same one Mike was addressing.
All right. There was one that came in that said, do you have sources on the 3 trends that I indicated? So going back to the beginning, I talked a little bit about the mobile devices, the telemedicine, and not exactly plagiarism, because Alex and I did a poll of our customer base, so we did a survey, and so the how you change your business and communications came out of our own customer base survey, so a sample size of a little over 250 respondents, and so that trend came out of there. The medical trends comes right from the ATA website, so there's a host of articles about how adoption within the medical infrastructure is changing the adoption of video across the other verticals. And Mike gave some customer examples. And then the Info Week gave me sort of the insights. They have a top 7 trends you should map to video conferencing. And their number 1 trend that Info Week talks about in video conferencing is the ubiquity of cameras on every device. And what the hell do we do with that now that cameras are everywhere and your consumers want you to enable those cameras? And so, sometimes I just pull things out of the air. This case, I actually use those 3 resources. So thanks for asking. Keep us honest here. Alex, I know as an outcome for today, you're going to break this into 3 different modules, so that we've got these otherwise contained, and we'll follow up on email. If you're sick of getting emails from us, just drop Alex a note or unsubscribe and just let us know how we can better communicate with you without sort of the mass marketing. We want to stay ahead of what the market is saying, and so that's why we do probably every 2 weeks reach out to you over email. But you can help us modulate the frequency of that as you need. One of our customers emailed, Alex, I saw that one get forwarded, so their question was about guest registrations on mobile clients, and it sounds like they had a firewall issue. And so we should just reach out to that customer around that ClearC registration. What we probably need to do is either register their endpoint to transit, which we still run and operate, or give them a ClearC account for their video codec. And so for those of you that are maybe interested in the nuances, this is a customer that already has 10 Lifesize units, and they had an offsite person using our hosted ClearC services. So theirs was their own private network. Ours is a publicly facing network. And so they tried to make a video call from overseas into one of their video units. and their video units are not on a public IP address. So there was no way for them to reach our public space into their private space. So the easiest way for us to fix that would just be for us to give them another ClearC account, like Heidi does on her device, register their life-size box to our ClearC, and then they would essentially be calling their life-size device in their private network through our ClearC infrastructure, which acts as that transit gateway. We are still running the old legacy life-size transit product and the new ClearC. So for this customer, we actually have two solutions that could do it. And they could also try the call in the other direction. So if they initiated the call from their life-size unit and went out to the mobile client, that call would be successful. So they were trying that call inbound to their life-size box that only has a private IP address, and so the call didn't connect. If they tried it in the other direction, and it would be extension at cs.globalcall.com in order to make that call, if they did an outbound SIP call, they would have a successful video connection. And we can reach out to Katie to let her know how that works. So.